The corner store, whether it's a bodega in the Bronx, a deli in Detroit, an Osaka Degashia, or an Auckland dairy. The store down the street goes by 100 names, but they all share a single steady pulse. They are the neighborhood nexus, humble average Joe enterprises that anchor the corners of every culture on Earth. Big supermarkets have their endless aisles of cutting-edge efficiency, but they usually can't provide the proximity of a shopkeeper who knew your name before you were tall enough to reach the counter. These are the places of long-standing service, often spanning generations, where the history of a city block is held in a single hand-delivered bag. Step inside. Notice the economy of space, maybe 2 narrow aisles where the shelves and the floor groan under a little bit of everything you forgot you needed. See the bulletin board by the door? That's the community's handwritten ledger. It's a map of local life, piano lessons offered, pipes needing a wrench, a neighbor looking for a local skilled hand's touch. There's a certain weight to the air here. It's a place where information and knowledge are dispersed as freely as the morning paper. We think of it as a purveyor of goods, but it's really a site of invisible exchange, a spot where the daily currents of our lives intersect and linger in the quiet hum of the refrigerators and an ineffable smell of familiar comfort. But look a little closer. You might see some real local specialties, jars or bottles with curious names like Gutterball Gus's Windreed or Mrs. Higgins' Wool Mitten Knick-Knack. They're sprays and lotions that actually give you 15 minutes or so of some skill of a nearby patron. Sal's 6th Sense spark plug sink, courtesy of Sal from the auto shop on 4th Street. Spray it on your ears and become hyper-tuned to mechanical rhythms. You can hear a misfiring cylinder from 3 blocks away.
Yes, let's get some pastries for breakfast tomorrow.
Pigeon Whisperer's equilibrium from the man in the park who sits so still the birds think he's a statue. You become invisible to urban fauna. Pigeons will land on your shoulder. Cats will treat you as a piece of furniture. Stoopwatcher's Total Recall from the neighborhood's 3 most prolific porch sitters. You remember every face, name, and who's dating whom within a 3-block radius for exactly 12 minutes. Welcome to Bodegability, where competence comes in a 12-ounce can and stays mainly in the neighborhood. Look closely at the roof of any mom-and-pop shop. Nestled between the rusted HVAC units and the pigeons is a parabolic siphon, a resonance dish often made of twine. The idea is, talent can be an atmospheric residue you can collect and distill. When a carpenter works, he isn't just cutting wood, he's saturating the air around him with the frequency of precision. Most of this expertise vapor simply drifts away and dissipates into the sky. The neighborhood corner store, the place where everyone naturally congregates, turns out to be the perfect low-pressure system to catch this drifting brilliance. The dish doesn't receive radio waves, it collects noetic humidity. It pulls the residual fluency from a 3-block radius. If a world-class jazz drummer lives on the 4th floor across the street, that store's percussion spray is going to be top-shelf quality. The science of spray-on skill relies on the law of temporary topical displacement. The roof dish siphons the expertise vapor and sends it down a brass pipe to the basement for distilling. In the back room, behind the crates of soda, sits a condensing coil. The vapor is cooled until it turns into a shimmering, viscous liquid of raw proficiency. This liquid is pressurized and aerosolized with a bit of inert ambition gas and canned. When you spray it on your forearms or temples, the droplets perform a skin graft of the skill in an instance of osmotic expertise. For 15 to 30 minutes, your muscle fibers remember a talent they never actually learned. The talent does not enter your brain, it stays in your limbs. You don't understand how to play the cello. Your hands simply insist on doing it correctly, and involuntarily. While large centralized distributors try to gather and redistribute the talent globally, the best stuff is always local batch. The store owner knows exactly who donated the talent, and they may give the local chef a free hoagie in exchange for the leakage their kitchen produces every night. The bodega cat, a whole story of its own, is a vital component of the store's quality control. Cats are naturally phase-shifted. They can sense the purity of the prowess being bottled. If the shop cat is sleeping on the expert carpentry canisters, the batch is stable. If the feline refuses to go near the sourdough kneading shelf, the distillation is sour. A proprietor will never sell a 12-ounce talent unless the cat has given it a purr check, a low-frequency vibration that stabilizes the aerosol or emulsion. You can use a skill the way it was intended or any way you want. Once a skill is on the shelf, there's no telling where it might end up around town. They wrote a book about how it can go around in circles. Arthur's 10-tone arpeggio mist leads to Elaine Sprague's QWERTY words a minute rub, spurring masseuse Annette's deep tension tincture, which Pietro parlays into his stretch and squeeze salve. From there, Mason Dave Miller builds a straight flush foam, which Ryan Aris uses, creating his PT posture paste, and straight on to Bill's Infinite Horizon linear lotion, Halloway's staccato chalk skip powder, Sophie's letter weight spatial spritz, Jacob's layer logic composition cream, and Clara's resolution roll-on. Which brings us full circle to Arthur's aptitude on the piano. Any skill can come in handy in a number of ways. Things can really go in any direction. Even just prying a book open to the page where you left off. Let's head off on a spur of the circle in the book we saw. We'll look at one avenue Ryan's posture cream could branch off in. Yuji's job sometimes means stuffing passengers into trains. Yuji's stuffing ointment came in handy when Brenda had to pack for a trip abroad. But let's just hope at the airport she gets a customs officer who used Kyla's no-spill coffee creamer spread. Those drops that always spurt out of the creamer, she's got it covered. Kyla spent a lot of time with a jack-in-the-box as a child.
How do you do that? Huh? I always spill mine.
Oh.
She opens a mean carton of yogurt, too, unlike this poor guy. No burp spurt, just smooth peeling. She's also good at finding that elusive seam opening a wet tissue. Real handy, that. But that's not a natural talent. That's thanks to Joanne Laney's Static Snap Bag Opener Oil. Those Gossamer produce bags are no match. And speaking of bags at the market, Ben here hasn't wasted a cubic inch of bag space since he started using RJ's Tetris Technique cream, and not one cracked egg. And then there's Downtown Jack's tongue-tied toner. Jack's party trick is tying the stem of a cherry in a knot with his tongue. Linda Driscoll decided to pull double duty, and after nailing the stems, tried some tongue twisters.
Okay. Toy boat, toy boat, toy boat. Class queen, 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 class queen.
These shells feature old country crust crimper aerosol, ensuring every pie looks like it was designed by a top-flight architect. Some potters use that. In the corner, Philosopher's Paws throat spray, siphoned from the local diner's most respected regular. He developed the perfect gravitas-filled timing for a witty comeback. You'll know exactly how long to wait before saying, "I told you so." Sometimes those 12 ounces of talent come from someone's feel for the sweet spot or their sense for the fault lines, like a slate miner turning an underground slab into a shipment of shingles.
That looks about right, yeah?
The source may be sublime, but the application might be finding a shrink-wrap seam for a quick lunch. You've got to be one with the polyethylene. You can also try mixing different abilities for specific jobs. Al here ups his pancake flipping game with a combination of Frank's forklift finesse foam and Anessa's not my type swipe left lotion for a full stack flip in 5 seconds flat. But some combos just don't work. If you spray intermediate French and high-stakes poker face at the same time, the resulting linguistic bluff could leave you speaking a language that doesn't exist while losing your rent money to the lady in 3B.
J'ai le tapis là. Je mets ça. C'est tout.
375.
This is a niche use, but angler Phil Barris gets just the right placement for tying blue-winged olive flies from Fast Eddie down at the pool hall in his bank shot rub. And where does Fast Eddie get his groove? It's a closely guarded secret, but rumor has it it's a real pro, someone with pure animal instinct. A cool, unfazed customer who can sink things over the edge, hardly looking. And then there's Joey. At the ripe old age of 6½, Joey Schrader has carved out a space all his own in the annals of picky eating. His no-crust sandwich mist might seem too niche for anything but chewing out the middle of a PBJ on wheat, but don't tell that to Mr. Kendrick on Lawson Street. His work cutting out inner pieces of spruce and poplar with a scroll saw should spell any doubt about the potential. Being in a major metro neighborhood, more than a few graphic artists and typographers swear by it for native space composition. Susan R. Morris's handmade paper cutouts would never have happened either without Joey's mist. Talent really is in the mind of the maker. Problems can arise on occasion. One bodega customer, killing time while his wife was using the ATM on the second floor, tried on a sample of estate sale auctioneer balm over a gel for an opera singer's passionate delivery, and pretty soon, against his own will even, he was selling off some cans of tomato paste to no one in particular.
Looking for 10 now. 10 for the San Bernardino. 10 gotta go. Hey, now 11. 11. Will you give me 12 on this fine paste? 12. Looking for 12. Sold for 12.
He couldn't stop himself. Then there are some slow movers nobody's found much use for yet. Muriel's slow line magnetism mist comes from her knack for always getting in the slowest line at the register, or Grandma Rose's unbroken peel lotion from her ability to peel an entire apple in one continuous piece. Mislabeling or just carelessness can lead to embarrassing mishaps. When Brett the waiter mistook pizza shell tossing paste for tray balancing tonic in the back room, things nearly got way out of hand in short order. And under the right conditions, organic material can pick up a trait, kind of like when seafood quivers on a plate or muscle spasms are triggered in laboratory tissue. Sometimes when no one's looking, and the Johnson twins' cat's cradle rub spills onto an open crock of sauerkraut in the deli case, strange things do happen.
I got 100, 200, 500, $500. Now six. Now six. Will you make it 700, 7?
Clean up in aisle 2.
In our towns and neighborhoods, we all have talents to share, even if they don't seem so useful to us. One person's curse may even be just what another person's been missing. And there's always something around the corner we can pick up from others. Whether you were born with a knack, you developed a skill over time, or something just rubbed off on you from someone down the street, whatever's available to you, it really comes down to how you use it.